Hi all, congratulations on your first exam grade. Most of you receive a perfect score. Keep the hard work. I'm sure you will also have a great performance on the fourth chapter. Today we will discuss the sections of the chapter 4 that you read on Friday. First, we will discuss the difference between formal and informal fallacies. Then, we will answer the question, why study fallacies? And finally, we will study fallacies based on personal attacks and fallacies based on emotional appeals. First, what is a formal fallacy? It is a logical error that occurs in the form or structure of an argument. It is restricted to deductive arguments. In the first chapter, we learned several examples of formal fallacies. We learned the fallacy of affirming the consequent. It is an invalid argument form, and the following example shows the fallacy of affirming the consequent. If Cherry lives in Los Angeles, then Cherry lives in California. Cherry lives in California, therefore Cherry lives in Los Angeles. As you can notice, this is a fallacy because she can live in California, but for example, she can live in San Diego, and in that case, she will not live in Los Angeles. Another example of formal fallacies from the first chapter. The fallacy of denying the antecedent. It is an invalid argument form. For example, if Cherry lives in Los Angeles, then Cherry lives in California. Cherry does not live in Los Angeles, therefore Cherry does not live in California. The fact that she does not live in Los Angeles does not necessarily proves that she does not live in California. She could live, for example, in Pasadena, and she will not live in Los Angeles, but still she will live in California. So those were two cases of formal fallacies that are errors in the structure or form of an argument. Now, what is an informal fallacy? It is a mistake in reasoning that occurs in ordinary language, and it is different from an error in the form or structure of arguments. So, why are we going to study in the following weeks fallacies? If you are aware of the existence of fallacies and understand the specific nature of fallacious reasoning, then you can recognize examples in everyday life. Recognition and the ability to expose the reasoning flaws in fallacies arms you against the psychological power of persuasion that often accompanies fallacious reasoning. So by recognizing fallacies, you can arm against fallacious or flawed reasoning. The first group of informal fallacies that we will study are fallacies based on personal attacks. The first type of fallacy of this group is the ad hominem abusive fallacy. It is an attack on alleged character flaws of a person instead of the person's argument. For example, she is old, out of touch with reality, and belongs in a loony bin, so you cannot accept her advice on marriage. Another example, don't listen to his criticism of our senator. After all, he's too young and probably experimented with drugs when he was in college. So as you can notice, these two examples attack the character of the person who is presenting an argument, but not the argument in itself. A second type of fallacies based on personal attacks is the ad hominem circumstantial fallacy. When someone's argument is rejected based on the circumstances of the person's life. Circumstances are different from character. For example, political affiliation, educational institution, place of birth, religious affiliation, and income are circumstances connected to people's lives. These kinds of attack also include the use of negative stereotypes such as racial, sexual, or religious stereotypes and can be subtle or overly dismissive. Now let's study three examples of ad hominem circumstantial fallacy. Of course, Senator Hilltop argues that my administration's tax proposals are bad for the country. But since his party lost the last elections, his opinions have no credibility. So this person attacks the circumstance that Senator Hilltop's party lost the elections, but he or she does not attack the argument that the senator presents against the tax proposals. You told us why you are against raising taxes, but we know the real reason is that you are a billionaire and you want to hold on to as much of your money as you can. Again, this person attacks the wealth of the person that is criticizing the raise of taxes, but they do not attack the argument that they present against raising taxes. I heard your argument why you are against euthanasia, but you failed to point out the real reason. You're a physician, so you make money only if terminally ill people are kept alive as long as possible. Again, this person attacks the fact that the person that is presenting an argument is a physician, but they do not attack this physician's argument against euthanasia. Ad hominem fallacies, both abusive and circumstantial, follow a similar pattern. A. Person X presents an argument. B. Person Y attacks the character or circumstances of person X. C. Based solely on the attack against person X, person Y rejects person X's argument. The third type of fallacies based on personal attacks that we will study is poisoning the well. The fallacy occurs when a person is attacked before they have a chance to present their case. For example, before you read her article Stop All Wars, you should know that she was arrested 6 times for protesting in front of the Pentagon and White House. She also has been investigated by the FBI for possible ties to peace movements in other countries, some of which resulted in violence. It is crystal clear that these kinds of people are dangerous and want to destroy our Constitution and take away our basic freedoms. We must not let them. So as you notice, this person attacks the character and certain circumstances of the person that wrote the article, but they do not attack the arguments that are contained in the article. Actually, she's making this case before the person who wrote the article actually has the chance to explain their arguments. Another type of fallacy based on a personal attack is tu quoque or look who is talking. The fallacy is distinguished by the specific attempt of one person to avoid the issue at hand by claiming the other person is a hypocrite. Let's look at an example from politics. If a US senator criticizes the human rights failings of China by offering a detailed description of recorded UN inquiries, a Chinese representative might say the following: the senator should look in his own backyard. What about the complete disregard of the universal rights of people who the US government incarcerates without any recourse to courts or a lawyer? What about the US policy of spying on its own citizens without a court order? The senator should not throw stones when he lives in a glass house. Let me remind him that whoever is without sin, let him cast the first stone. The Chinese representative is not addressing the US senator criticisms of human rights violations happening in China. They are just implying the US senator is a hypocrite because the US government violates the rights of prisoners and its own citizens. Another type of fallacy based on an emotional appeal is appeal to the people. The fallacy occurs when an argument manipulates a psychological need or desire so a person will accept the conclusion. For example, we must not let our country be taken over by illegal aliens. After all, they knowingly and brazenly broke the law by entering illegally, so they are nothing but criminals. They will continue to flout our laws, steal our jobs, and threaten our very way of life. The fallacy makes an emotional appeal based on the psychological force of group solidarity and identity. This passage has emotionally charged phrases without any evidence that only appeal to xenophobia. Another fallacy based on an emotional appeal is appeal to pity. The fallacy results from an exclusive reliance on a sense of pity or mercy for support of a conclusion. For example, Your Honor, before you sentence my client for the murder of his parents, I ask you to consider his situation. He is an orphan. Perhaps you can give him the lightest punishment possible. This lawyer ignores the fact that their client's crime what was caused him to be an orphan. They are not presenting any argument for a light punishment. They are just trying to produce pity in the judge for the defendant. The last fallacy based on an emotional appeal that we will study is appeal to fear or force. The fallacy occurs when a threat of harmful consequences, physical or otherwise, is used to force acceptance of a course of action that will otherwise be unacceptable. For example, if the workers of this company do not agree to a 25% cut in salary, then the company may have to shut its doors. Therefore, the workers of this company must agree to a 25% cut in salary. The person who says this does not present reasons why the cut in salary is the only solution to the company's problems. Also, they do not explain why the company should file bankruptcy if there is not that cut in salary. That's all for today. Remember to complete exercises 2 and 8 of exercises 4B1 and exercises 8, 16, 24, 32, and 44 of exercises 4B2. Submit them on Brightspace by tonight at midnight. Hope you have a good rest of the day.